The mansion sits in eerie silence, its grand halls now filled with tension. Emma, the young maid, has vanished without a trace, and the once bustling estate is thrown into turmoil. The governor's staff searches desperately, but there is no sign of her anywhere. Just days before her disappearance, she had been seen in the governor's company, his proximity to her raising many suspicions. His calm reaction to her vanishing only deepens the mystery. While the household scrambles, whispers grow louder, claiming Emma's body was discovered, but the authorities find nothing, only the absence of her presence. As days turn into weeks, the mansion becomes the focal point of unsettling rumors. Some townspeople speak of strange noises coming from the governor's estate, especially at night, soft whispers and faint footsteps echoing through empty hallways. The streets around the mansion are eerily deserted as the people of Charleston avoid the governor's residence, sensing that something unnatural has taken root there. The absence of Emma grows into something more than a mere disappearance. It becomes a symbol of the darkness that seems to be engulfing the once respected governor. The governor, always a figure of power and control, refuses to address the rumors. His stoic silence, however, only fuels suspicions. Those close to the household claim to have seen his demeanor shift, his once charismatic presence now replaced by an unnerving coldness. Some say he no longer sleeps, wandering the halls at night, as if searching for something or someone. But no one dares to ask. Whispers now circulate that Emma was not just a maid, but a woman with whom the governor had become deeply entwined. The connection between them, once hidden behind closed doors, now seems far more sinister than anyone imagined. The mansion itself seems to reflect the growing unease in the town. What was once a place of grandeur now feels like a prison, each room heavier with silence and dread. The grand staircase, once filled with the bustle of the household, now stands empty, an eerie reminder of Emma's absence. The windows, once open to the bustling city below, are now shut tight, blocking out the sun as if shielding the mansion from the outside world. The estate becomes more than a home. It becomes a dark presence in the town, pulling everyone around it into its malevolent gravity. As the days stretch on, the people of Charleston grow more fearful. Some claim that they've seen Emma's face in the windows of the mansion, staring out into the street with lifeless eyes. Others say that the mansion's shadow seems to grow longer, as if it has become a living thing, feeding on the fear of the people nearby. The townspeople, once skeptical of the rumors, now find themselves caught in a web of fear that cannot be easily undone. Emma's disappearance has become more than just a tragic event. It's become the beginning of something far more terrifying. Days pass, and the town of Charleston begins to settle into its uneasy routine when one evening, Emma reappears as if out of nowhere. No one expected it, especially after her mysterious disappearance. She strides into the heart of the social scene, the grand ballroom of the governor's mansion, with an air of confidence that takes everyone by surprise. The maid who once quietly cleaned the floors now commands the room with the grace of a queen. Dressed in the finest silk, her attire draped perfectly over her slender form, Emma looks nothing like the humble servant she once was. Whispers ripple through the crowd. She is glowing, almost ethereal, her presence magnetic and undeniable. Her transformation is impossible to ignore. Not only is Emma's beauty striking, but her every movement carries a strange power, a weight that leaves those around her in awe. She is not the same woman who had vanished weeks earlier. There's something otherworldly about her now, a haunting allure that draws the gaze of every man and woman in the room. But it's her most obvious change that captures the crowd's attention. Emma is pregnant. A life grows within her, but the mystery deepens when the townsfolk realize that she carries the governor's child. The revelation sends shockwaves through the room. A maid, once beneath notice, now bears the air of the highest man in Charleston. As Emma mingles through the crowd, she is treated like royalty, invited to every gathering, every ball, every dinner party. Once an invisible servant, she is now the most coveted guest in town. But the transformation goes beyond mere social advancement. Her beauty is unnerving in its perfection, almost unnatural. Her eyes, once soft and approachable, now seem distant, glazed with a strange emptiness. She laughs with the guests, but her voice lacks warmth, and those who engage with her feel a coldness in her presence, as if her soul no longer belongs to her. She is captivating, yes, but something about her seems off. The townsfolk are torn. Some marvel at her new stature, envious of the wealth and respect that seem to follow her now, while others feel an overwhelming unease. Emma's rise to prominence seems too sudden, too impossible. How could a mere servant, after vanishing without a trace, return so changed? And why is it that her beauty seems to shine brighter with each passing day, while her demeanor grows colder, more distant? Whispers circulate that her return may not be as miraculous as it appears. Some even claim to have seen strange marks on her skin, symbols that appear and vanish in the blink of an eye, as though a dark force has taken root within her. As Emma graces every social event, her popularity grows, but so does the suspicion surrounding her. People begin to question the circumstances of her disappearance and return. Could it be that the governor had a darker hand in her transformation? What happened to Emma during those missing days? The more the townsfolk whisper, the more they realize that something isn't quite right. The governor, once so proud and controlled, is oddly silent about Emma's return. His gaze upon her, though filled with pride, is laced with something darker, something that unsettles those who notice it. Despite the growing rumors, Emma seems unfazed. She attends every ball, every gathering, with a grace that could only come from someone destined to rule the social scene. Yet, in private moments, a different side of her appears, one that is colder and more distant, her eyes lost in thought, haunted by something unseen. At times, she seems to hear voices in the distance, faint whispers that tug at her, but she brushes them aside with a soft smile that sends chills down the spines of those who witness it. Her beauty continues to captivate, but a darkness lurks behind her eyes, one that hints at the malevolent forces she may now be bound to. The more Emma rises in status, the more the town begins to fall under an ominous spell. Her every step, every glance, feels calculated. No longer a servant, she now appears as the perfect figurehead, but with each passing day she seems more detached from humanity, as if something else has taken hold of her. Her transformation seems less like a miracle and more like a curse, and the townspeople can't help but wonder if the governor's child will be the key to unlocking something far darker than they ever imagined. As Emma's star continues to rise, so does the sense of foreboding. What happened to her during those missing days? Who is the real Emma now, and what role does the governor play in the strange and terrifying changes she has undergone? The town of Charleston, once filled with bustling social events and lively discussions, has become a place of whispered fear, all centered on the mysterious figure who walks among them, pregnant, beautiful, and haunted by a darkness they cannot comprehend. As Emma's presence in Charleston grows more powerful, a young man named Thomas finds himself drawn to her story. He has heard the rumors, the gossip that surrounds her sudden rise to prominence, but something about the tale doesn't sit right with him. Emma, once a humble maid, now shines as the town's most captivating figure. Thomas begins to hear conflicting accounts from various townsfolk. Some speak of her kindness and quiet demeanor, while others hint at something far more unsettling beneath the surface. The more Thomas hears, the more intrigued he becomes, and the more convinced he is that there's a deeper truth lurking behind Emma's transformation. Determined to uncover the truth, Thomas quietly begins his investigation. He starts with Emma herself, following her from afar and observing her behavior. She attends social events with the governor by her side, but her eyes never seem fully engaged in the conversations. At times, her gaze is distant, as if she is lost in thoughts no one else can hear. To find answers, Thomas seeks out those who knew Emma before her disappearance. Some speak of her with reverence, others with fear, but none can explain the drastic change in her. Then, through hushed conversations and a handful of hidden letters, he uncovers a clue that shakes him to his core. Emma's sudden transformation may not be a result of simple fate. The letters lead Thomas to a horrifying discovery. Emma's pregnancy is not an accident, but part of something much darker. The governor, it seems, has been hiding a secret for years, one that goes back generations. His family's bloodline is cursed, bound to an ancient supernatural force that demands sacrifices. The curse has been passed down from father to son, and each new generation is forced to make a terrible choice. Emma's pregnancy, it seems, is the latest chapter in this dark legacy. The governor, once a man of power and influence, is now a puppet to forces beyond his control, and Emma, unknowingly, is the vessel for the curse's next phase. As Thomas delves deeper into the governor's past, he begins to unravel a chilling story of ritualistic practices and blood oaths that have kept the governor's family in power for centuries. Emma's transformation was not an act of fate, but part of a ritual designed to ensure the governor's continued dominion over Charleston. The child she carries is not a blessing, but a sacrifice, a key to keeping the supernatural forces at bay. As Thomas pieces together the puzzle, he realizes that Emma is not the innocent victim she appears to be. She is, unknowingly, part of a far larger and more terrifying scheme, one that binds her to the governor in ways that no one fully understands. The more Thomas uncovers, the more he begins to see the dark undercurrent that runs through Charleston. The town, once vibrant with life, now seems overshadowed by the governor's influence, and Emma's strange rise to power feels like a harbinger of something far worse. The more Thomas learns about the curse, the more he realizes how deeply it has entwined itself into the fabric of the town's history. The governor's family has used the curse for generations to maintain their hold over Charleston, but at what cost? The sacrifices, the rituals, how many innocent lives have been taken to keep the town in the governor's grasp? One night, as Thomas continues his research, he comes across a forbidden book hidden in the governor's private study. The pages are filled with dark symbols and cryptic rituals, detailing the history of the family's pact with the supernatural forces that control their bloodline. As he reads further, Thomas realizes that Emma's pregnancy is not merely a result of the governor's desire for a child. It is a deliberate part of a centuries-old ritual designed to strengthen the governor's power and prolong his life. Emma, in her innocence, has been thrust into a nightmare beyond her understanding, and the governor's actions are far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. With this knowledge in hand, Thomas's fear deepens. The more he uncovers, the more he understands how powerful the forces at play are and how dangerous it would be to attempt to stop them. The curse is not something that can be easily broken, and the governor's influence over Charleston is far-reaching. Yet despite the danger, Thomas cannot turn back. He knows that the truth must be exposed, and that if he doesn't act soon, Emma's child may be the final key to the governor's eternal control over the town. But as Thomas gets closer to the heart of the mystery, the more he realizes that the truth may come at a cost he is not prepared to pay. As the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, Thomas is left with a chilling realization. Emma's rise to power, her beauty, and her pregnancy are part of a much larger, more horrific plan. The governor is not simply a man of influence. He is a vessel for a curse that controls every aspect of his life and the lives of those around him. The town of Charleston itself may be cursed, trapped in a cycle of ritual and sacrifice that no one can escape. With the truth now in his hands, Thomas faces a choice: expose the curse and risk everything, or allow the dark forces to continue their reign, knowing that Emma's child may be the last piece needed to complete the governor's horrific destiny. As the full moon rises over Charleston, Emma begins to experience violent, unsettling dreams. Each night, the nightmares become more vivid and haunting. Shadowy figures move in the darkness, their faces obscured, whispering her name in an eerie chorus. The whispers seemed to come from every corner of her mind, pulling her deeper into the abyss of fear and confusion. She wakes up in a cold sweat, her heart racing, unsure if she is still trapped in the dreams or if something far worse is happening. The visions feel too real, too close to reality, leaving her shaken and unable to shake the feeling that she is being watched, or worse, controlled. As Emma struggles with her increasing disquiet, Thomas digs deeper into his research, piecing together the disturbing truth about the governor's bloodline. His discoveries lead him to an ancient curse, one that has plagued the governor's family for generations. Each firstborn child of the governor's line is marked by an unseen, dark force, a force that ensures the governor will maintain power over the town as long as he continues to sacrifice a part of his soul. This blood pact, forged centuries ago, binds Emma's unborn child to an ancient prophecy, one that demands the child be born to fulfill the curse. This revelation sends a chill down Thomas's spine. He realizes that Emma's pregnancy is not a mere coincidence, but a pivotal moment in a dark ritual that has been unfolding for centuries. The weight of the curse becomes more apparent with every passing day. Emma's dreams intensify, and she starts to notice odd, inexplicable occurrences around her. Objects in her home move without explanation, shadows flicker in the corners of her vision, and she begins to hear the whispers even when she is awake. Her once beautiful, radiant appearance begins to fade, replaced by an unnatural pallor. Her behavior becomes increasingly erratic. She lingers in the corners of rooms, staring blankly into space, as if listening to voices only she can hear. The warmth she once radiated has been replaced with a chilling coldness, as if the life inside her is not a child, but something far darker. As the due date of her child approaches, the force surrounding Emma grows stronger, its grip tightening on her soul. The whispers, now deafening, cloud her thoughts, urging her to comply with the prophecy that has been set in motion. Emma's once promising life as the Belle of Charleston feels like a distant memory, replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread. She begins to withdraw from those around her, avoiding contact with anyone who might try to reach her. Her eyes, once full of life, now appear hollow, consumed by an invisible force. The people of Charleston, who once admired her, now whisper among themselves, fearful of the changes in her. The townsfolk no longer see Emma as a symbol of beauty and grace, but as a vessel for something far more sinister. Thomas's fear intensifies as he begins to piece together the full scope of the ritual that has ensnared Emma. The more he uncovers, the more he realizes that the supernatural forces at play are far beyond what he imagined. The blood pact, made generations ago, is not just a simple family secret. It is a contract with a dark, ancient force that demands the sacrifice of innocence. Emma's child, the product of this unholy union, is the key to fulfilling the curse and ensuring that the governor's bloodline remains in power. Thomas knows that if the ritual is completed, Charleston will be consumed by the darkness that has haunted the governor's family for centuries, and no one will be safe. As Emma becomes more consumed by the dark force, she starts to lose touch with reality. Her dreams become nightmarish visions of an ancient temple where shadows dance around a stone altar. The whispers in her ears grow louder, more demanding, urging her to bring her child into the world at any cost. She feels her own will slipping away, replaced by a compulsion she cannot resist. Her body seems to betray her, as if it is no longer under her control. She begins to believe that the child inside her is not just a baby, but a creature of pure darkness, a force of nature that will carry out the prophecy no matter what. As the days pass, Thomas grows more desperate. He realizes that the town of Charleston may be doomed if the ritual is allowed to continue. The governor's curse is not something that can be easily undone, and Emma, once a woman of vitality, is now a mere vessel for something far more terrifying. Thomas knows that he must act before it is too late, but as he plans his next steps, he is faced with a horrifying reality. How can he stop a force so powerful that it has controlled the governor's family for centuries? The answer, he fears, may be something far darker than he could ever have imagined. Emma's descent into madness is only the beginning, and the true horror lies in what will come after her child is born. The town of Charleston, once filled with life and vibrancy, now feels like a place on the edge of destruction. The once beautiful mansion where Emma and the governor once walked in happiness now stands as a symbol of the curse that controls them both. The townspeople who once adored Emma now fear her presence, knowing that she is no longer the woman they once knew. The air grows thick with dread, and Thomas feels the weight of the impending doom that looms over the town. As Emma's due date draws near, it becomes clear that the supernatural forces at play are closing in on Charleston, and only a miracle could save them from the darkness that threatens to swallow them all. The grand masquerade ball at the governor's mansion is a night of lavish opulence. Guests in elaborate costumes swirl around the grand hall, their laughter echoing off the walls, but a heavy unease hangs in the air. Emma, now more captivating than ever, is at the center of it all, her beauty enhanced by the sparkling lights and shadows that dance across her delicate features. She moves gracefully through the crowd, but there is an unsettling tension in the air, as if everyone feels the darkness that surrounds her. The governor, proud and ever-present by her side, watches her with an intensity that sends shivers down the spines of the onlookers. His affection for her seems too possessive, too calculated, and the whispers begin to grow louder, questioning the true nature of their bond. As the night progresses, the grand waltz begins. Emma and the governor step onto the dance floor, the crowd parting to allow them to glide effortlessly across the polished floor. They are the epitome of elegance, yet beneath the surface, something is terribly wrong. Emma's steps, though flawless, feel mechanical, as if she is no longer in control of her own body. Her eyes, once full of life and wonder, are now glazed, staring straight ahead as though lost in a trance. Her hands, once delicate and graceful, seem almost stiff, moving only in time with the governor's every lead. The music swells, the guests mesmerized by their performance, but there is a growing sense that something dark is lurking beneath the surface. Suddenly, as the waltz reaches its crescendo, Emma's body stiffens, and without warning she collapses in the middle of the dance floor. The room goes silent as her body convulses violently, her limbs jerking in unnatural ways. Gasps fill the air as Emma writhes on the floor, her face contorted in pain. The guests stand frozen in shock, unsure of what they are witnessing. The governor, instead of rushing to her side, watches her with a strange detachment, as though this is something he has seen before. It becomes evident that the supernatural forces controlling Emma have taken full hold, and her graceful figure has become a vessel for something far more sinister. The crowd watches in horrified fascination as Emma's convulsions grow stronger. Her body jerks and twists as if being pulled in different directions by an invisible force. Her eyes wide and vacant, yet filled with an intense, unnatural energy. The once beautiful woman who had mesmerized Charleston now lies on the floor, writhing as though possessed. Her movements are no longer elegant but frantic, driven by something beyond her control. The guests, some terrified, others frozen in place, begin to whisper that they are witnessing the end of Emma's story, the moment when she becomes the final victim of the curse that has held her in its grip. Meanwhile, Thomas, who has been investigating the mysteries surrounding Emma's transformation, uncovers a secret that shakes him to his core. Hidden in the darkest corners of the governor's mansion, Thomas discovers a concealed chamber, one that has remained locked for years. Inside, he finds the final piece of the puzzle, a collection of ancient documents and forbidden rituals that reveal the true extent of the governor's intentions. The curse that has plagued his family is not just a means of power, It is a ritual designed to maintain control over Charleston, and Emma's child is to be the ultimate vessel for that power. The governor's role in this dark scheme is more than a mere participant. He is the orchestrator, and Emma's suffering is merely the beginning of his ultimate plan. The truth hits Thomas like a wave, and he realizes the full horror of what is unfolding. Emma's pregnancy is not a miraculous event. It is a necessary part of the ritual that will grant the governor eternal power. Her suffering, her transformation, and her collapse on the dance floor are all part of the plan to bring about the dark prophecy. The curse has already claimed Emma's soul, and her child will be the final step in fulfilling the governor's dark destiny. But Thomas also knows that this ritual, if completed, will seal Charleston's doom. The town, once a thriving community, will be consumed by the very darkness the governor has invited into their lives. With the ritual drawing closer, Thomas realizes that he is running out of time. Emma's collapse on the dance floor is a signal that the curse is nearing its climax, and her child will soon be born, completing the prophecy. He must decide whether to act now, risking everything to stop the ritual, or allow it to unfold and watch as Charleston falls under the governor's curse. But the decision is not an easy one. If he exposes the truth, he risks being killed by the very force that has kept the governor in power for centuries. If he does nothing, he will be complicit in the destruction of the town and the life of the unborn child. As Emma's convulsions subside, she is helped to her feet, her face pale and drawn. The governor, still by her side, offers her a supportive arm, but there is no real comfort in his touch. Emma's eyes, though glazed and distant, now carry a strange calmness, as if she has accepted her fate. The ritual is imminent, and with every passing moment, Thomas feels the weight of the decision he must make. The future of Charleston, the fate of Emma and her child, and the power of the governor all hang in the balance. He must act quickly, or the town will be lost to the darkness forever. The night continues, but the mood has shifted. The masquerade ball, once filled with joy and excitement, is now shrouded in an unsettling silence. The guests are no longer captivated by Emma's beauty or the governor's charm. Instead, they are filled with a quiet dread, each person secretly wondering if they are witnessing the end of an era, the fall of Charleston, and the rise of an unstoppable curse. The dance of deception is over, and the only question left is whether anyone can survive the final act of the governor's sinister plan. As the days slip by, Emma's pregnancy advances, and with it the dark power that has held her captive grows stronger. Her once vibrant demeanor has vanished entirely, replaced by an eerie, vacant stare. The whispers she hears are no longer just in her mind, but emanate from the very walls of the mansion, as though the house itself is alive. Her movements are mechanical, her steps heavy as though she's being pulled by an invisible force. The town of Charleston watches in horror as Emma, once a beautiful and captivating young woman, becomes a shell of her former self, her mind no longer her own. The ritual, long feared and whispered about, is now on the brink of completion, and Emma's role in it is inevitable. The governor, his face cold and determined, prepares for the final act of the ritual. He is no longer the respected figure he once was, but a man consumed by a need for power that goes beyond human comprehension. In the darkened corners of his mansion, the ritual room awaits, its air thick with the stench of decay and something far more sinister. It is here that Emma will be forced to give up the child she carries, the child that is to become the key to the governor's immortality. Her role, once a product of fate, is now a painful chain, binding her to a destiny she cannot escape. She has already lost herself, and now she will lose everything else. Thomas, determined to save Emma and prevent the curse from taking hold, confronts the governor in the heart of the mansion. His heart races as he makes his way through the dark halls, each step heavy with the weight of the knowledge he has uncovered. He had hoped to stop this nightmare, to free Emma from the curse, but as he enters the ritual chamber, his worst fears are confirmed. The governor stands before the altar, his eyes cold and unblinking, as Emma is placed at the center of the room. Her eyes are glassy, distant, as though she is no longer aware of her surroundings. The final piece of the governor's dark plan is in motion, and Thomas has arrived too late. Emma, her body trembling with the weight of the curse, is made to kneel before the altar. The ritual demands her complete submission, and she is powerless to resist. The child within her, once a symbol of hope, is now the very thing that will ensure the governor's dominance over the town. The governor's voice, low and commanding, fills the room as he recites the incantations passed down through generations. The air grows thick, heavy with the promise of doom, as the dark force controlling Emma seems to pulse with each word spoken. She is nothing more than a vessel, a puppet in a game that she no longer controls. As the ritual reaches its climax, the walls of the mansion begin to tremble. The ground shakes beneath their feet, as if the very foundation of the house is protesting the evil being unleashed within it. A low guttural sound reverberates through the chamber, and the lights flicker wildly, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The sense of dread grows unbearable, suffocating the very air in the room. The governor's voice rises, commanding and final, as he prepares to claim his prize, immortality through the life of Emma's child. But as the ceremony continues, something begins to go horribly wrong. The power that the governor has sought for so long begins to slip out of his control. The room falls silent for a split second, the atmosphere thick with an oppressive evil. The walls of the mansion begin to crack, the very structure groaning as if it is alive and reacting to the dark energy being summoned. Emma's body convulses as if something inside her is fighting to break free. The child, whose birth was meant to secure the governor's power, seems to stir violently within her, as though it is aware of its fate. A sudden, overwhelming pressure fills the air, and the temperature drops sharply. The mansion shakes again, harder this time, as though the building itself is rejecting the ritual. The force that was supposed to grant the governor immortality is spiraling out of control, and the mansion begins to unravel. Thomas watches in horror as the ritual spins into chaos. The governor's eyes widen in shock and disbelief as his power slips away. Emma, her body now contorted and writhing, screams, a sound that is both human and not, filled with anguish and rage. The child within her, the one meant to fulfill the prophecy, is pushing against the forces that have bound it. And as the ritual spirals further out of control, it becomes clear that the consequences of the curse are now irreversible. Emma's sacrifice, the governor's greed, and the twisted bloodline that has fueled it all have led to this catastrophic moment. The mansion trembles violently, and the world outside seems to echo with the final cries of a curse unleashed. The dark force that has controlled Emma for so long begins to surge out of her, as if it is breaking free from its prison. The ritual, once a planned sacrifice, is now a desperate attempt to hold back the inevitable collapse. The room is filled with a blinding light as the evil that has haunted the governor's family for generations attempts to consume them all. Emma's body convulses one final time, and in that moment, Thomas understands the true horror of what has been set in motion. The mansion's walls crack open, and the entire building seems to collapse inward, consumed by the very curse that has defined its existence. The ritual is interrupted, but its impact will haunt Charleston forever. The mansion is now nothing more than a crumbling ruin, and the ritual's failure has left a wake of devastation. Emma, the governor, and the curse that haunted them all are lost to the darkness. But the consequences of their actions will echo through the town for generations. The town of Charleston, once a place of life and beauty, now stands on the edge of destruction. The darkness unleashed that night has seeped into the very heart of the town, and though the ritual has failed, its mark remains. The future of Charleston, like Emma's child, is uncertain, and it is clear that no one will ever be the same again. The mansion trembles as the curse grows uncontrollable. The ritual, once meticulously planned, now unravels into chaos. Emma's body, already twisted by the malevolent force inside her, writhes violently as if trying to escape its grip. Her movements are no longer human, but erratic and unnatural. Like a puppet being jerked by invisible strings, the air is thick with the stench of decay, and the walls of the mansion crack and groan as though they are alive, struggling against the weight of the dark power that has been unleashed. The once grand estate, a symbol of wealth and influence, now seems like a tomb, its opulence decaying from the inside out, swallowed by the curse that has taken root for generations. The governor, realizing that his control is slipping, desperately attempts to flee, his face twisted in terror. But the curse has already claimed him. His bloodline, tainted by the pact made long ago, begins to betray him. His own flesh seems to warp and rot before his eyes, consumed by the very evil he had sought to control. The mansion's walls continue to tremble, and the once pristine windows shatter, sending glass flying in every direction. The governor's cries echo through the halls, but they are drowned out by the sound of the mansion collapsing around him. He tries to escape, but the curse closes in, swallowing him whole, as if the house itself is devouring him along with his soul. Amid the chaos, Thomas manages to escape, his heart pounding in his chest as he runs from the crumbling mansion. The town of Charleston, once a thriving, vibrant community, is now engulfed in darkness. The cursed mansion, once a symbol of power, now lies in ruin, its foundations cracked and broken, sinking into the earth. As Thomas stumbles through the streets, he can see that the entire town is being consumed by the darkness. The once lively town square is empty, the streets abandoned, and a heavy fog begins to settle over the city, thickening with every passing second. It feels as though Charleston itself is being erased from existence, swallowed by the very evil that had haunted it for so long. The power that had kept the governor alive for so many years is gone, but Emma's child, the key to the governor's immortality, has disappeared. The town's silence is deafening, the only sound being the creaking of the collapsing mansion in the distance. Thomas, overwhelmed by the horrors he's witnessed, feels the weight of the curse pressing down on him. The child, who was meant to fulfill the governor's prophecy, is nowhere to be found. It is as if the curse itself has claimed the child, and with it, any hope for redemption. The ritual, though disrupted, has left a scar on the town that will never heal, a wound that will fester for eternity. As Thomas stumbles through the streets, he sees no signs of life, only the remnants of a town that has been forsaken. The air grows colder with each step, the fog thickening around him, as though the very earth is mourning the destruction that has taken place. In the distance, he sees the smoldering ruins of the mansion, now little more than a pile of ash and rubble. The curse, though seemingly broken, has left an irreversible mark on Charleston. The darkness that once dwelled within the mansion has seeped into the very soil, and it seems as though no one can escape its grasp. The town is a shell of its former self, its heart ripped out by the supernatural forces that had taken hold. As the days pass, Charleston remains eerily silent, its once bustling streets now devoid of life. The memory of the cursed mansion lingers in the air, as though the very town is haunted by its past. Thomas, forever scarred by what he witnessed, leaves the town, knowing that he can never truly escape the horrors he's seen. But even as he walks away, he knows that the curse has not been lifted. It has simply moved on, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to cross its path. The dark force that has plagued Charleston for generations is not gone. It's simply biding its time, ready to strike again when least expected. The mansion, now reduced to rubble, is a grim reminder of the evil that once thrived within its walls. The town of Charleston, though physically intact, is broken, its spirit shattered by the horrors that have unfolded. The curse, though seemingly extinguished, lingers in the air like a shadow, waiting for the next victim to uncover its secrets. As the years pass, whispers of the mansion's dark history continue to spread, and the town's name is now synonymous with tragedy and despair. The once prosperous city is now a place to be avoided, its cursed history a warning to anyone who dares to uncover the dark secrets buried beneath the surface. The story ends with a chilling reminder that some curses never die. The mansion may have fallen, but the evil that lived within it has not been vanquished. It still waits, hiding in the shadows, lurking in the corners of the town, ready to claim new victims. The curse consumes all, and no one is ever truly free from its grasp. Charleston may have been saved from the ritual, but it was not saved from the darkness that lingers, waiting for the next soul to fall victim to its unrelenting grip.